over the pandemic, when like the whole world was locked down, like that didn't really stop people from forming new connections and new relationships, right? And so I think that's really when we saw how people were able to build relationships without having the option to meet in person. Because even though it isn't long distance, a lot of people were still trying to be safe, right? So I think as long as you put in time and effort and energy into somebody and it's reciprocated, I think there's room for relationships to grow, even if that in person interaction isn't there, right? The devastating part is if one person or both people are faking it, is that it's not going to last. But if both people are genuine, then I think that could potentially be a really dope way to start off a relationship, even if the possibility of meeting in person isn't there.
I do think it's really interesting that during the pandemic they were adding certain features to the video apps, the video viewing apps, that for people for autism, right? Because they're so used to picking up, like what AP is saying, that genuine face-to-face interaction tells a lot. But for some reason, it was hard for some people with autism to be able to make out certain mannerisms over digital interfaces. So because of that, they actually made that when a person made a face that was close to an emoji, the emoji would come up on a screen so that the person can recognize and interact and know that this person is doing something. Because us some of us that aren't on the spectrum, right, we've learned how to pick up cues that even though you don't look sad, we know that there might be something up, right? But for people that have an issue with understanding social cues and interactions that are different from what you say versus what it is that you're showing, they made some changes to that app where it made it more visual so that you can see and understand, even though that wasn't really what you were trying to convey to some degree.
See, that's the example of technology being used for the right reasons. I love that. That's
I thought it
cool.
was dope also.
Yeah.
It went over my head. I'm sorry. It's, it's just I'm having
Hey
one of
Shan,
those.
is your son there today?
I'm having a blonde moment right now. I just like zoned out. It was like it's so crazy. um, but I'm sure it was a good something you said that was great. I'll have to rewind it and go back to it. My apologies. Okay, so y'all, this is one of those nights. Um, anyhow, so we talked about the catfish, and so I have a few videos that do you guys anybody else wanted to bring up something for the catfish before we moved on to the next subject? Everybody said their part. All right, cool beans. So we have a video, and y'all know I never have the videos just ready to be pulled up. So unprofessional. Got to do better.
That's just a Friday night chat.
Let's see which one of these goes first.
Got to be
The
better.
longer you wait for the future you want, the less time you have to spend in it. And that, for me, is exactly what it is. So you waiting to experience this amazing future with the gifts that you've been given to share, the longer you wait, the less time you have when you actually get to that. And so I think for all of us, it's let's be about that business, that sense of urgency, of getting to that moment of joy, of living, so that we can actually live there longer.
Yeah.
This came across my Instagram, and I just thought I just snuck it in there. It has nothing to do with the topic, but sometimes we waste a lot of time, and it's good time because we have fun times, as we bring out memories, because I've had some great times. But do you think that is wasted? It's so funny. But do you think it's wasted time? So, for example, if you're with a woman, or if you are dating and you're like, okay, I just want to be a free spirit, isn't that wasting time? Isn't that wasted time from the person you're supposed to be with? Like you take it for granted, so to speak. Does that make sense? Do I need to?
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand. But so somebody said something to me a long time ago, and it's not like a blanket statement. It doesn't apply to everything in certain scenarios. So I want to add that caveat before I share it. But they said, like, certain moments that you take away are just a moment in the scale of like forever, right? So if you're spending forever with somebody, those moments that you're taking away, or those moments where you're doing your own thing, you're not fully committing, if that really is forever, is really just a blip in time, right? So I think in certain scenarios that makes sense. Now, if you're stuck in a situation, or you're choosing not to change, or you're choosing to never commit, or something is getting in the way of progress, I think that's very different. But if you're like, hey, you know, I need a second to myself to like figure some stuff out, or work through some things, or like, you know, I'm just in this like phase in my life, or whatever it is, it, on the grand scale of forever, it's just a moment, right? And so I think that for me put a lot of things into perspective.
But do you really have forever?
Well, most
of us, it's a long time, but
most of us are religious.
Time.
Most of us follow a religion, right? And so, like, the concept of forever is ingrained in belief systems, right? So if you really do believe in that, and this is actually your person, then like forever really does exist, right? Theoretically.
I like that, Enos.
So we're looking at this from a relationship context.
It could be from career. It could be so many things. I mean, think about it like this too. If you're thinking about retirement, okay, but you spend most of your years working, and retirement is like this much time out of this much time. You understand what I'm saying? So it can be looked at in so many different ways.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's only a waste if you haven't learned something from it. Now, even if you go through, this is just my philosophy, even if you go through something that was terrible, let's say, I don't think it's necessarily a waste. It all depends on how you look at it. So if you can pull from that experience, you know, then I think it's not a waste. I think the waste comes when you're using your time and you're not, I think Inez has said this. Inez, I'm sorry. Inez has said this. I made my joke earlier and then I said it. Inez had said earlier about the growth part. So if any of those if you look over your life and you can see where certain opportunities that you had, that you grew from it, even though you wish you didn't go through it, I still think it wasn't a waste of time because you've gotten something from that.
I think there are lessons in life, and some people have to go through lessons to get it right. I absolutely agree with that. I don't think that anybody is a waste of your time. I think that if it ain't a blessing, it's definitely a lesson to be learned.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it is interesting because, you know, especially in the confines of dating, women often bring this up since they're on this clock, right? It seems like women are forever on a clock versus men. You know,
everybody's on the clock. Everybody.
Well, apparently brothers are taught that we ain't got no clock. Women are taught that they have a very small window. And so as the ages keep going up for women, they become hyper focused and in somewhat of a rush to find that person because of the amount of time. So they'd be like, well, if I'm 32, right? They'd be like, well, I can't spend 6 months with you if you don't know what you're doing. Some women want to spend a week with you. Oh, you don't look like you know what you want to do? I'm out, player. And it's just like, to me, it's like, I like genuinely hanging out with people, talking to people and listening to people. I love to listen because, you know, you learn a lot about people when you listen. You would even learn that you don't have to say as much if you would just listen. People will answer your questions if you just wait long enough. But so many people get so excited or impatient when they listen to folk. They often jump in when they were going to answer it eventually. But also I know why people don't wait. It's because people just be going on forever. But I do think that it is interesting that, like, if you just genuinely value people's time and enjoy who this person is, it's never really a waste. You might be disappointed in the outcome, but like you guys both said, like, You know, you learn a lot from people. You might learn that, hey, listen, you could have learned business from this person. You could have learned how to interact and understand social situations from this person. It might not have worked to your end goal, but you can take every conversation, every interaction to the next thing. And then hopefully when you actually get the thing that you're looking for, you can actually keep it. Because nothing hurts worse than getting to the thing that you really want and then you lose it. Like nobody wants that.